Welcome to our few minutes together on the Parsha. As you can see, I'm not broadcasting from my home in Brooklyn, but rather I'm standing here. In back of me, you can see the inside wall of the Kotel, where I'm standing in a room a little bit off, in which there are people learning. There are still people davening on the other side, but we're here to talk about the few minutes on the Parsha. And of course, in Chutz La'aretz, this Shabbos, we're going to be reading Parshas Shelach. The Mevorchim come back, and when they come back, they speak about the land, and they say that it's a land that's impossible to conquer. You will not be able to do it. There are people there who are giants, Anshe Midos, and people are being buried all the time. It's the kind of place where it's impossible, logically, to find any way for us to be able to conquer the land. At that point, Kalev ben Yefuneh says, Vayas, Kalev Esa'om el Moshe, he quieted the people to Moshe, and he said, Olo na'aleh v'yarashnu osa. We will surely go up and definitely possess it. There's absolutely no question that we will possess it. The Piasetzner Rebbe, the Plenish Kalman's Hashem Yinkom Doma, beautifully explains. He says, they were talking about logic. They were saying logically, it's impossible. We're never going to be able to conquer this land. It's the kind of place which no logical way could we, a small, tattered nation, getting just out of Mitzrayim, being slaves for so many years, it's impossible that we'll be able to conquer this land. It's just not logically capable of being done. The Piasetzner points out when Kalev speaks to them, he doesn't give any counter logic. They came up with a tremendous logic. You can't win, it's impossible, and he doesn't counter it with any logic. He says, Olon aleh v'yarashnu osa. We're definitely going to go up, and we're going to possess it, without logic. Without speaking to logic at all, but totally, with total emunah and betochen in Hachodesh Baruch Hu. If Hashem says it, then it's going to happen that way. It's not logical. Throughout life in general, there are many times when people are faced with situations where logically it is impossible for one to win or to be successful. There are times in life when we can use logic and we can think of ways in which to save ourselves, to produce a better result. Perhaps if someone is ill, they can go to a doctor and they can get medicine and get better. But sometimes there are things that come along which make it impossible on a logical, serious basis to be able to win and be successful. And that's when we have to remember what Kalev said. Olo na'aleh v'yarashnu osa. He's not talking logically. He's saying, as Rashi points out, Afilu omelonu asay sumus. Even if he tells us, go make ladders and go up to the heaven, we would have to listen to Moshe Rabbeinu. And the same thing over here. There's no logic. It's just emunah and betochen in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which faces us at certain times in our lives without using any logic. Just pure emunah. And when that comes along, that's the time in which we have to remember what Kalev said. And that's why those, Kalev, Yoshua, those who were below the ages of those who couldn't possibly recognize the other situation of the Meraglim, but they had the pure emunah and betochen, those are the ones who came to Eretz Yisrael. Just the fact that I'm standing here, and in the back of me you see the Kotel. Can you imagine, for 2,000 years, there was no one who logically could have expected that Klal Yisrael would one day come here and be able to daven, to learn the amount of learning that goes on in Yerushalayim or Hachodesh. It's beyond understanding. And even 100 years ago, if you would have said something like this could have happened, no one would have believed you, because logically speaking, there was no way that it could have happened. But it's because we are the children who listened to Kalev, who said, Olon aleh yarashtu osa. That's the way that things can take place even beyond logic, because those are the times in which we have to plug into the pure emunah and betochen that Klal Yisrael has always followed in order to be able to be successful, not only in our personal lives, but in our national aspirations. And consequently, if you want, and sometimes it might happen that you'll say to yourself, I'll never be able to learn this blot Gemara. I'll never be able to understand every single Rashi in the Chumash. I'll never be able to understand and fathom all the depths of the Rambam. Don't say it. Say Olo Na'aleh v'yarashnu osa. It's possible. All we have to do is use that bitachon that we know is capable of being plugged into by Klal Yisrael, and then we're going to see that amazing things can happen. Things which normally defy logic, but bring about the ultimate result that we want. The Shabbos we're going to be Mevorchim, Hachodesh, Tamuz. And we begin in Shivas Tamuz, the 3 weeks of mourning for the Beis Hamikdash Harishon and Sheni. And we're desirous of building the third. It's a good time for us to get into the concept of Alona Alevi Yarashnu Osa, so that we can be successful just as Kalev and Yeshua were in eventually coming and conquering Eretz Yisrael. It's time to say we have Emunah and B'tachon in Hachodesh Baruch. Have a wonderful Shabbos.